if I'm being honest.
I'm not standing here, so.
No, come on.
All right. That goes.
All right, we ready to go? Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time on a weeknight at 7:30 to come and listen to me. No, seriously, really appreciate it, and it says a lot for you being here. Not a lot of people are willing to take time out of their busy lives to prioritize this stuff, so I want to make sure that we're keeping this short and sweet today. We're going to do a lot of work over the next couple weeks to work on a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today. However, we do want to kind of assess some of the things today and make sure that we have a clear idea of what this needs to look like going forward for you all. So, who here is currently a member at Bolt? Okay. And how many of you have ever done a challenge with us or done some sort of nutrition coaching with us? All right, so some of us. So, when we've done these things in the past, there have been some really great results from those things. But what we really wanted to do was look at all the things that still remain challenges. We wanted to look at the things when we did those coaching programs and like what didn't work well, right? What were the things that still were holding people up from ultimately reaching their goals? And what we found was the biggest thing ultimately was not the information, right? Which is there. The information is there for you. And we talk about it all the time here. It wasn't that. It wasn't the support. It was the accountability. Right? It was not having to guess if you were having trouble. Right? We didn't know with these previous challenges, hey, are you having trouble or are you doing really well? And we can't leave that up to guesswork because that's not coaching. That's not us helping you. We wanted to set this up in a way, and we were not going to do another challenge until we did have a way that we can know you're having trouble before you have to come and tell us and sit with us. Because we know that sometimes when you're having trouble with something, you want to just kind of hang in the background. You don't want to talk about it. It's normal. So the focus over the next 6 weeks is going to be addressing some of these issues. It is going to be taking action and figuring out what those bottlenecks are that ultimately are not allowing us to take the action we need to take. All right? So going into this, over the next 45 minutes when we're going to talk a little bit, I want you to keep that in mind. That the goal of the next six weeks is not to learn new information. It is not to find this magic solution that does not exist. It's about taking action and asking for help when you need it. All right? So what we're going to do today, okay, a couple things. First thing, we're going to examine the problem first. I think that examining the problem will help us ultimately come to better grips with like what the solutions need to look like. And I think maybe this is something we haven't done enough of here, so I want to dive into the problem and why this is so hard. And then we'll go into a little bit of how we fix it. From there, we'll talk about the challenge details, kind of what this is going to look like, and what the details of that are going to look like going forward. All right, so if you've come to any of these things before, you've seen this picture. This is the only picture that you'll see of me with my shirt off because for the first 25, 26 years of my life, I wouldn't take my shirt off. And I definitely didn't have pictures of it. I've struggled with weight my entire life. And I know how shitty that feels, excuse me. I know how badly that feels. Right? I know how that affects you on a daily basis. I know what it's like to spend every waking moment just worrying about this stuff and trying really, really hard and not ultimately being able to figure something out. And when I had my aha moments with this stuff, after a lot of hard work and a lot of failure and a lot of really rough days, it almost bothered me to a point because I realized how it doesn't need to be nearly as hard as we think it does. That was rough at first because it's like I wasted so much time and I wasted so much effort, so many nights where I was just like spending by myself, not feeling good about myself, and it didn't have to be as hard as I was making it. And I built this entire place because I don't want you guys feeling that way. That's why we do this stuff. That's why we do what we do. I don't want you to feel the way that I felt for so long. Hopefully over the next 6 weeks we will learn a little bit more about that stuff so we don't have to feel that way anymore. And at least we feel like we have some control over what we're doing. So, like, why is this so hard? Like, what is about this? Like, why? We know more right now about nutrition than we have ever known. We know more about fitness than we have ever known. We have more resources. There is more out there, more opportunities for us to ultimately fix the problem that we have in front of us than there ever has been before. Yet this country is more and more obese every single year. Why is that? How come as we get smarter and we get more ability to do things like this did not exist 20 years ago. how come we are getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse? We have to understand what the problem is in order to understand it. So, throw a scenario out there. Two identical twins, identical size, weight, DNA, all their DNA is the same, okay? They go out in the woods. One eats a full pizza, drinks a 32-ounce Coke, full sugar Coke, finishes a pint of ice cream before the trip. The other eats just some steamed broccoli, plain lettuce, and a raw carrot. They get lost for a month. Who survives longer? Say that again?
The one that ate all the food.
Why?
Because they had more calories.
Okay. Food is fuel. It's absolutely right. The person who eats all this crap food survives. The person who eats the broccoli, lettuce, and a raw carrot dies. Food is fuel. Okay? This is probably not going to happen very frequently in 2019. But there was a long period of time throughout our human history where going for days, weeks, however long, without food was a very real threat to the extinction of human beings. Food was not always this thing that we could just go run down and grab whenever we want. It was rare. So just like anything else, the human body adapts. It learns things, right? So we became hardwired to crave things like fat, sugar, and salt. Why? Because those are the things that have the most calories. So the hunter-gatherer who came across the beehive full of honey tasted it, and it tasted sweet. And it tasted good. So they ate it all. And that was their sign to know, I'm going to eat that. Especially if you've never come across it before. Maybe you've never seen a beehive. But how do you know whether to eat it? The poison is going to be bitter. The honey is going to be sweet. The honey is going to ultimately help you survive for longer in case you don't come across food for the next 3 days. So the things that have a lot of calories are ultimately the things that we have learned as an evolution and adaptation of just humans over millions of years, we have learned to eat more of. So we're hardwired to like this stuff. It's not an accident that all the foods that we like and taste really good are the high-calorie ones that make us overweight, and all the ones that don't taste that good are like broccoli. Like, that's not an accident. It's for a reason. Understanding that, and understanding that you are hardwired to want to eat those foods, is kind of like, okay, I'm not like messed up. I'm totally normal. As we know, it's not, a million years ago anymore. Things have changed. All right, and we're going to look at that a little bit, how they changed and like how we have gotten into this predicament. So, like, valuable source of fuel in nature 2 million years ago, when there was no stores, when there was no agriculture, there was no farming. It's like, all right, you either came across some fatty meat, fatty fish that you got, maybe there was like some fruits or some avocado, something like that, honey, nuts and seeds, right? So if we found those things, the person who found that is going to live longer. If you didn't find some of this stuff, chances are you weren't going to last very long. Then something interesting happened about 12,000 years ago, something called the agricultural revolution, where we learned, like, as humans began to evolve in a lot of different ways, we got really smart too. Like, there's a reason we're at the top of the food chain. We evolved to be that, right? So we started to learn how to like work together on stuff, like some animals do. We developed things like language, right? We started to figure out, if we as a pack decide to trap that tiger, we can then kill it and eat it for weeks. And as we continue to kind of go through that process, we learned eventually, we can take these things, we can harvest these. We can take this, this cow, instead of just killing it and eating it now, we can milk it, get milk out of it. We can get more out of it, right? We can, domesticate some of these things. And, by the way, these chickens, they lay eggs. We can eat those too. That was like a really big thing. This is a big deal. And it changed everything. Because now, all of a sudden, we no longer had hunt and gather. Food wasn't as rare as it always was. So this is a big, big, big deal in human history. It made food available. Or at least much more available. And then after that, we started to learn how to process foods. Right? So now, all of a sudden, right, we start to learn how to think, if I take this thing that I harvest and combine it with this thing, like, I can make beer, we can get drunk. Like, that's amazing. So we started to, now where food is not just fuel. It's no longer just fuel, no longer just a way to survive. it is now a source of pleasure. Again, big deal, right? Because now we start to try to find these combinations and figure out how can we make this stuff pleasurable. That was not always the case. There's a website right here that has like some really interesting stories about how all these things were like developed and how they like made chocolate and stuff. I can send it to you. It's actually pretty interesting to read. But like this matters, right? And then we talk about like modern food processing. Okay? So listen, when we talk about 1800, think about how much has changed here. Think about all these things that are on this list, right? Bottling and canning, pasteurization, concentrates, artificial sweeteners. That all happened in the span of 150 years. In the span of human history, that's nothing. We have not caught up to this. Our bodies have not evolved and adapted to all of this stuff that's available. But like in this time period, we had things like wars, right? We started to, we evolved culturally as well. We started to develop countries and money and all of these things that made us start fighting each other. And now there was an economy. We had depressions and all these things. And these were developed out of need. So now, not only is food available, not only is it still fueling us, but it's cheap and it lasts longer. Just like anything, right? If we figure something good out, people are right there to take advantage of it financially. And God bless America, that's what everybody did. Because the food companies are looking like, okay, we figured out how to like can stuff, all right? And this canned food tastes really good. And people don't have to sit in front of a kitchen and cook all day in order to eat. And it lasts really long, and we can sell it for really cheap, and people will buy a bunch of it. Like, let's go all in on that. Meanwhile, on the other side, families are like, I don't have to cook all my food anymore. I can just throw something in the microwave and a pizza's done, and it tastes pretty good. Like, that's amazing. I can feed my kids and they're not going to complain. I don't have to spend all day doing it. And food stores that went from these little small things that had all these kind of fresh foods and like little markets were all of a sudden like, oh, wow, these new canned foods and frozen foods, we can keep a lot of these on the shelves, like way more than we can keep now. It stays way longer, so it's probably not going to go to waste. Like, we should probably make bigger stores so we can sell more food. And we should probably open them up in every town. And that's like how supermarkets ultimately came to be what they are today. And now, why that is important is because now, all of a sudden, we go in the span of a couple thousand years from food being something that we didn't know when we were going to get it, to we have a frozen food, or we have a food store in every single town. We can just go down the street and get whatever we want, and a lot of that stuff is really, really cheap, and we can eat it, a lot of it. See how the problem's starting to evolve, and how the problem's kind of starting to get like out of control to the point where maybe we can't do anything about it? And that's not even to mention restaurants, right? Like as little as, from the 1970s, there was one restaurant for every 7,500 people, and now there's one for every 310. Because what restaurants were smart enough to do, they were smart enough to say, okay, we can take this fuel, people are now like to eat for pleasure, not just for fuel. We can sell it at a price point, and we can make it convenient, so we just serve it to you, it'll taste really good. Oh, and we will build experiences around it. We will build social experience around it. We can train people to do everything that they do, and they would maybe normally do at their house with their family and friends, and do it with us, so they don't have to worry about like cooking and stuff like that. It's brilliant. The goal of the restaurant is not to feed you what you need. The goal is to make money. People open restaurants to feed their families. So, what makes more money? Sell better tasting foods. What makes food taste good? Over all this time, as we started to eat more for pleasure and the foods became more available, we started to develop something called hyperpalatable foods. Okay? And this ultimately is the problem in front of us today. You have these foods. You have something like honey, like we talked about before, that's very palatable, tastes good. You know what makes honey taste better? Combine it with like oil and granola, and oats, and maybe put some ice cream in there. And like combine it with all this stuff, and it's going to create these textures and taste combinations and stuff that's taking like this food that we're already kind of like we're rewarded from eating more of because it helped us survive, because it's got a lot of calories, and this one that did the same thing. Combine them together, make this superfood. It's going to be extra rewarding. That's hyperpalatable food. And this is the stuff where we combine things like sugars, fats, flavors, additives. We make them like texture, like you ever eat like a s'more, like crunch and then soft and it melts. It's like the best thing ever. Oh, and they're really easy to chew and eat quickly, so they're super easy to overeat. They already pack a lot of calories with a little punch, and they're easy to eat a bunch of. So, like, this is what we're surrounded by at all times. Our human nature, our instinct, is to go and eat those foods. They're in front of us all the time. It's not like we're in this position anymore where food is a rarity and we don't know when we're going to get it. So we can just have it whenever we want. Foods that are already too much, and we can have them whenever we want. Boom. Obesity. That's where we're at. People think sugar is addictive, right? We talk about this a lot. And, like, I get that, but I would argue that it's not sugar that's the problem. Like, anybody here, like, jonesing for, like, Pixie Stick right now? No, but if I put a bunch of donuts in front of you, you'd be like, oh, let's go. Right? It's not the sugar, right? It's the sugar combined with the fat and the starch and the salt that make these hyper-palatable foods that just taste amazing. And they're not addictive per se, but they definitely have addictive-like tendencies. If we have access to them, and our human nature, human instinct is telling us to go eat these things, yeah, that's going to feel like an addictive quality. And in a way, we kind of are addicted to them. It's our natural drug. You know? So modern foods, more calories packed in smaller doses, with textures that make it easier to chew and eat faster. You don't get full as quickly, making it that much easier to eat more of the foods, and they're purposefully designed to manipulate our evolutionary human instincts, make us crave them all the time. And they're in every store, in every commercial, everywhere we turn, you're around them, it's really hard to say no because you're fighting against your nature, and we're screwed. We're screwed. I'm not even, not even to be funny, yeah, we're screwed. We're screwed. There's nothing we can do about that. You getting rid of this stuff? Anybody fighting against big food companies? No. These things aren't going away. They're going to be surrounded every day, and our human nature is not going to start telling us, like, oh no, that Oreo tastes like crap. But that's not changing. This is the situation that's in front of us. It is a big one to overcome. Yeah. I wish I had better news for you. So, like, when we understand the problem, we can see that, like, we got a big road, we got a big hill to climb here. We got a big hill to climb. But here's the thing. There are certain things we can't control that, but there are things that we can control. We're going to talk about that over the next 6 weeks. Incredible change happens in your life when you decide to take control of what you do have power over, instead of craving control of what you don't. Read that again. Control what you can control. You cannot control thinking Oreos taste good. You cannot control what is at the supermarket. You cannot control what they serve at restaurants. But we can set things up in our environment to ultimately control those things. We can't control that, but we can control our environment. We can learn more about how our appetite works and control those things. We can have strategies in place so that are set up so that it takes the decision making out of it. If you're trying to just use willpower to just say, like, no, not going to eat that, and that's your strategy, best of luck to you. And maybe that's been your strategy so far, and, like, maybe it works for a little bit. But is that long-term sustainable strategy? If that stuff's in your house, you're going to eat it. All right, so, like, let's just talk about the fundamentals of fat loss really quickly. I know it's a hard slide to read, but it's important to understand that human physiology complies with the first law of thermodynamics. So in science, when we see something that says law in front of it, like, there's very little in science that we can say, like, we know. A lot of it's theory, a lot of it is, speculation, you see a study, but, like, that stuff's not laws. Laws, we know. Like the law of gravity. Like, we just know what it is. And there's been enough science behind it to prove it. The law of thermodynamics, it essentially says, without getting too deep into it, like, energy cannot just dissipate into nothing. Energy has to either be dissipated as heat, or it needs to be stored and basically turned into different types of energy. The only two things that any energy can do. So think of calories, right? Calories are energy. Energy either needs to be burned or stored. The only two things that calories can do, burn or we store them. That's it. So it doesn't matter how many calories you eat if they're keto calories, or if you do them when you're fasting, or if you do them vegan, or if you do them in a million different ways and all those different diets that you see a million things of, whether your hormones or this and that, no. Those calories either are going to get burned or stored. That is it. Easier said than done. But that's it. That's the show. That is what we need to understand. That is fat loss. If we understand that, we can start to make some headway. So, simple, right? Calories consumed equal calories expended, weight maintained. Calories consumed more than expended, we decrease weight. Or I'm sorry, we decrease weight if more calories are expended than consumed. If we burn more calories, or if we eat more calories than we burn, we gain weight. Fat loss. So let's talk about calories out, okay? We're going to talk about some of the things really quick. I'm sorry, calories in, the things that affect calorie intake. Again, these things don't directly affect calorie intake, but these are some of the things that we can start to control. These are the controllable things that we can look at and say, how do I manipulate so that my calorie intake is not as high as it is right now? It's going to be in one of these 4 areas. Let's break these down a little bit, right? So we have appetite. There are hormones that regulate that. Environment, okay? There's some, listen, if you have a lot more money and more access to food, you're going to eat more calories, right? If you are in a culture that revolves a lot of their social and family stuff around food, you probably eat more. Right? Like, I come from an Italian family. You know what we do on Sunday? It's disgusting. We already talked about this, palatability and reward. It's psychology, your mindset, your perceived level of control. Right? This is an important one. So appetite and hunger, there are 2 hormones that ultimately regulate our appetite. Ghrelin is a hormone that basically signals our brain to eat. So when our stomach's empty, ghrelin will be released and tell us that it's time to eat, makes us hungry. Leptin tells us to stop eating. So when our stomach's full, sends a signal, say, you're not feeling you're full, that's a hormone that sends that signal. Okay? What's this impacted by? Food size, or food volume, body size, sleep, which is a big one. We'll get into that over the challenge, and blood sugar regulation. But when we talk about things we can control, right now we can't control our body size without any of this other stuff. Maybe we can control our sleep. We probably can't just directly control our blood sugar regulation because it is what it is right now. But we can't control our food volume. What does that mean? Let's look at calorie density. You guys have heard me talk about this a lot. And the folks who have had a lot of success with their weight loss in this building are the ones who have mastered understanding calorie density. Let's look at 500 calories in your stomach. 500 calories of fruits and veggies will make your stomach full. See that? That will send a signal to release leptin, and you will be perceived as full. Okay? 500 calories of oil, it's not going to do that. So same amount of calories, here we're still going to be full. Some foods are very calorically dense, which means they have a lot of calories per unit of volume. So imagine a tablespoon of oil maybe has the same amount of calories as maybe almost like a pound of strawberries. So strawberries would be much less calorically dense than oil. Okay? Cheese, nuts, and butters, that's going to fill us up a little bit more with oil, but less than this other stuff. Potatoes, rice, and beans, lean meat, and fish. Right? And we can start to kind of see, you can start to think of some foods you know what, chicken actually has 100 calories for this much chicken. But if I were to eat a fatty cut of steak, maybe it's that much. Right? And an Oreo is 150 calories. So I can eat 14 of them. No problem. So by manipulating the volumes and making that the thing that we're focusing on to regulate our appetite, that's a way that we can cut our calories down without feeling hungry. Right? Eating higher volume foods and limiting some of these more dense ones. Our environment. Setting your environment up is something you can control. When you are looking at your environment and how you surround yourself on a daily basis, make the hard things easy and make the easy things hard. Raise your hand if you remember here again. How many of you were working out 3 or 4 days a week before you joined here? Consistently. Okay, some of them. The rest of you, what happened? Change your environment. Maybe met some friends. Maybe you met some coaches that you like. But ultimately, you made something that's hard, getting up and working, a lot easier by being in an environment that you enjoy. That's an environmental change. There's nothing special you can do here. But if we can set up our environment to ultimately be something that makes it I actually kind of want to go work out. You have already done some of this stuff. Maybe you didn't even realize it. Making the easy things hard. It's easy to go grab an Oreo out of the cabinet when it's there. If it's not there, you got to go in your car, you got to grab your keys, you got to put your shoes on, you got to drive to the store, buy it, walk up, put it in, scan it on the new stupid scanning things all over a shop, right? You gotta go home, you gotta, there's a lot of other steps there. So make it, if it's easy, you're gonna do it. If it's hard, chances are that one of those steps, you're gonna hit stop here. You need to understand the habit loop, right? So if we're sitting at home, we'll use a nightly glass of wine as an example. A lot of people like to have a nightly glass of wine after a long, stressful day at work. So cue is your cue in that scenario would be, all right, I come home after a long day of work, I sit down, I need to relieve my stress. So I get a craving, and that craving is a glass of wine. My response is I go get that glass of wine, and the reward is stress relief. That's a habit. There was no decision making that went into that process. You didn't actively think about it. The stuff just kind of came. So if we want to change a habit that maybe is detrimental to what we're doing, we're going to need to ultimately intervene somewhere around here. So are you ever going to be able to never need stress relief? No. So we probably don't want to look at the cue there, right? And you're going to need to ultimately relieve that stress. So we need to either change the craving, which we've all tried that before, or change the reward for the response. So here's an example. Right, we're craving stress relief. Our cue, we're stressed. Response, glass of wine. Reward, stress relief. Here, an example of replacing that habit would be all right, I'm going to talk about it. But seriously, right? Because listen, that's important though. And maybe it's not that. Maybe that's the last thing you want to do. But ultimately, something is going to need to replace that. Something needs to replace that response.
We're going to say, do you want to come over for a glass?
Good idea.
But if the wine's not there, you're probably not going to go for it.
It's
You know what I mean? So there you go. You know what I'm saying though? But guys, seriously, you have to replace it with something. The cue isn't going away. The reward is something you're going to need. So these habits need to be intervened somewhere. Okay? What about willpower? Why can't we just no, I'm not going to do it. How's that work for everybody? Works for about 7 to 21 days. And then eventually at some point, you're going to reach a point where it's I have no more willpower left, I'm exhausted, I'm just going to do it. I deserve this. Ever done that one before? Yeah, I have to. But here's the thing, willpower though is needed at times. That's called discipline. Right? And if you rely on that, you will ultimately fail. Exercising discipline, picking our spots, is where that really needs to come into play. So that when we are in a situation where something's outside of our control, that's when we exercise our discipline. But relying on discipline every day, wake up in the morning and be man, I really want to go get that donut. But you know what? Just not going to do it today. That'll last you until all of a sudden you wake up and you know what? I didn't have time to make breakfast today. I woke up late. I'm getting a donut. I've been good. Next thing you know, 2 days later, you've had 3 donuts in a row. So let's talk about mindset. A fixed mindset is when you are believing that your qualities are carved in stone. My metabolism's just slow. I tried, I just don't have motivation. You know what? I think this is just who I am. I've heard that almost every day for 3 years. I just can't do it. You know what? You're right. Your mindset's fixed. You're not getting past that. This is going to be a big one, guys. It's going to be a big one that we're going to have to really focus on and work on over the next couple of weeks. Is where we are fixed. So we all have it. And we're all fixed. I'll be I'm terrible at technology. I'm so bad at staying organized, right, Tom? I need your help, man. I'm so bad at staying organized. No. You know what? That's me having a fixed mindset about my organization and just using that as a cop-out. I need to work to get more organized. I am what I am right now, but I need to go and do better. A growth mindset. Growth mindset is the hand you're dealt is just a starting point for your development. Your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through your efforts. Although people may differ, their initial talents and aptitudes, interests, temperaments, everybody can change and grow through application and exercise. If you want to get better at something, you can. You may not go be Michael Jordan if you want to be a basketball player. But man, you can get better. And you know what? Maybe nobody in this room is ever going to grace the cover of Women's Health and Fitness magazine. But we also don't need to wake up every morning and be like, you know what? I don't like any of my clothes. It's in your hands. You have the control. We all do, every single one of us. And whenever that thing is that you're thinking right now, you're like, yeah, but that's that resistance that's creeping in. That's that thing that's driving that fixed mindset. You gotta get rid of that. If one thing happens over the next couple of weeks, getting rid of that. Whatever you're thinking about right now, you know everybody's thinking about it. You know how many years it was like, I'm just a stocky guy. My dad's stocky. I just got these genes. Such a cop-out. It really was. Because all it took was a little bit of work and a little bit of a different mindset. And looking at these things as challenges and thriving off the challenge instead of saying, you know what? I don't like challenges. They don't make me feel good. I can do it. So here's some examples, right? Fixed mindset. Believes failures define who they are, hides their flaws, avoids challenges, ignores feedback, views feedback as criticism, feels threatened by others' success. Anybody ever get jealous because their friend lost a bunch of weight? I have. But a growth mindset is the opposite of those things, right? It's looking at those things and like, wow, they can do it, I can do it. I just need to find my sweet spot. I just need to work. I just haven't figured it out yet. It's not that I'm never going to figure it out. I just haven't figured it out yet. Back to the boring stuff. Calories out. So a couple things here, right? Our basal metabolic rate. These are the calories we burn at rest. Non-exercise activity. We're learning so much more about this. Right? Some interesting research just came out recently. Like we used to think that this kind of accounted for maybe 15, 20% of calorie burn in a given day. Non-exercise physical activity, it looks like it can account in some people for up to as much as 50% of your overall calorie burn. 50%. Like this is a way bigger deal than we always thought it was. And over the last couple of years, we've learned it's a bigger deal, but recently we've learned that it's a very big deal. Basal metabolic rate, we talked about, your metabolism slowing down, right? And like basically, as you age and things like that, all that stuff kind of dropping. And it does, about 10%. We used to think it was more. We've learned that this is actually what's dropping. Involuntary need. We'll get into that in a little bit. Also, your exercise activity, the cost of exercise. This would be dependent, right, on how much you exercise. And thermic effect of food. You see, even your exercise though, exercise is not going to be as much as that. When it comes to burning calories and calories out, this is a way bigger factor than this one. So what you do outside of here and how physically active you stay outside of here is going to affect calorie burn way more than what you do in here. This becomes important to ultimately not let this drop. Because if we strength train, maintain our muscle mass, this will not drop. The reason as we age, our metabolism goes down is because our muscle starts to deteriorate. So strength training is kind of a non-negotiable if we want to lose body fat. Okay. Need, we talked about it. So we have our voluntary need. Okay. This is things like walking, talking, taking the stairs. So your voluntary need would be like, I'm going to go take an extra walk. But there's also something that we need to understand that is involuntary need. And this is the one that drops off. Things like tapping your foot when you're sitting, and like blinking, and yawning, and clenching your teeth and talking with your hands. Like these things are more involuntary. Your body's very adaptive. So if you are feeding it less, that's threatening to your body. So what your body will do is regulate the involuntary movement. Without even thinking about it, you will blink less. You will twitch less. This is the stuff that's going down. That is why, as we start to lose weight, we hit plateaus. Lose weight, knee drops, BMR drops, and all of a sudden we're stuck. We got to drop calories even more. It's a vicious cycle. I know. It's ridiculous, all this stuff we got to think about. But here's what we're going to talk about. If we can focus on only these things over the next 3 weeks, like this is the how, right? This is the things that we're going to focus on. Don't worry about this too much now, because over the next 6 weeks, this is what we're going to discuss throughout the challenge. Okay? Protein and veggies with every meal. Limit your hyperpalatable foods. Cut it with the bites and licks and taste and stuff like that. Just eat your meal. Stop snacking. We're gonna have to focus on that stuff, right? Prioritizing lower calorie condiments, salad dressings, using your hand size as a portion, planning your meals ahead of time so you're not left with all of a sudden you got to make a decision when you're emotional and hungry. Eat slowly without distractions to give that leptin a chance to uptake. Eat too fast, it takes a little while to feel full. Stop eating before you feel full, and don't wait until you're starving for 2 hours to eat a meal. Okay? Right? Like if you want to control your calories, that's a good, like without counting calories, boom, that's what we can start with. Fitness, we're going to prioritize strength training, mostly compound movements. Work with a bunch of different rep ranges. We're going to pair exercises back and forth to save time, burn calories, stay physically active, and utilize cardio as we need. So like cardio is going to be more for our health reasons as opposed to the fat loss reasons. Okay? Non-exercise activity. Apart from the way, these are just recommendations. These are ideas, right? That you're going to need to figure out these ways to ultimately keep moving more. And some of that's built into what we're going to do. Apart further away, take the stairs, go for a walk, garden, clean the house. Stand rather than sit. Stand rather than sit. There's so many opportunities where you're going to catch yourself like, I can just be standing at my desk doing this. Take breaks, stretch. Okay? It goes back to taking action. If you're looking at this stuff right now and being like, I don't know if I can do that, get that out of your head. Growth mindset. We need to take action on this stuff. These things, we need to take action on. We need to actually do them. It's not enough to sit here and talk about it. It's not enough to listen to me speak more and more and more and again, listen to my mouth. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm sick of talking. I want to see you guys take action. We can do this. We can do this. I know you can. I just want to be clear. I expect every single person in this room to lose weight over the next 6 weeks. Every single one of you. You can do it. Might not be right away. It's probably not going to be like 20 pounds. But if we take action and then ask for help when things maybe aren't going your way, there's no reason that we won't. Everybody can do this. Everybody. It's a marathon, okay? When we talk about the long-term fat loss, like when we're running a marathon, like you jog, you know, I mean, I've never run a marathon, but I'm assuming this is how it works. You jog, you know, you're kind of going at a regular pace, like pretty good pace, not really, you know, not hanging out, going slow, but also not a full sprint. And also you see straight away and you sprint it, all right? And then maybe you jog again, and then you see an uphill, and you kind of like just walking. And then you jog again, see the finish line, you sprint, right? So it's like this combination of like mostly jogging, sometimes sprinting, sometimes walking. Nutrition's the same way. Most of the time, life is just like 80-20. It's a job. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to never eat any of these hyperpalatable foods ever again. Right? But, you know, most of the time you're doing what you need to do and kind of revolving around the things that we just talked about. And understanding the problem and not going overboard. Right? With some indulgences every now and then. But when like we're really trying to dial things in, like we are over the next 6 weeks, we got to tighten that up a little bit. Otherwise we're never going to see progress. Because you're probably not going to like lose a bunch of weight on 80-20. On 90-10 you will. And then we go back to 80-20 and we're all of a sudden at a lighter weight. Like, that's how this stuff works. Like, it's like a little bit of a sprint, pull back, maintain. A little bit of a sprint, pull back, maintain. And then you have things like holidays. Like after the 6-week challenge, Thanksgiving's coming. Right? So we're gonna like sprint for 6 weeks, November 9th, to, you know, we're gonna jog, and then maybe we sprint like that Thanksgiving weekend, then we're gonna jog again, and then it's like, you know, the rest of the holidays till New Year's, and then we probably, you know, maybe we sprint again, or maybe we feel good and we just kind of hang around and jog for the rest of the year, like who knows? That's why I want you to start looking at this stuff. And the reason being is because this is dangerous. Always trying to diet is dangerous. You know, I'm telling you. Tina, I'm right there. Because we talked about it, right? As we diet, our energy expenditure goes down. Not only does meat drop, but exercise activity can drop. All right? BMR will drop. Your thermic effective food will drop. Right? All these things are going to drop. As you lose weight, you will burn fewer calories. So if you're always trying to eat in a deficit and always trying to diet, this is what happens to our calorie expenditure. So now when you do indulge, ooh, that stuff's getting stored. So now you're surplus. So like look at this, right? So we started diet. Imagine like kind of right now, we're 2,000 calories in, 2,000 calories out, we're maintaining our weight. We drop way down to 1,500 calories. We still are going to be at a high energy expenditure when we start, so we're going to lose weight. But then, our expenditure drops. So these are even again. So we stop losing. It's called plateau. So we drop our calories more. Now we're at like kind of like a dangerous level of low calorie here. And, you know, I was supposed to say 15 here, whatever. We're losing. And then your energy expenditure drops back down even more to 12. So now we are in maintenance at 1,200 calories a day. That is not good. Because anytime now, when we want to start reintegrating back into real life, we are now eating 2,000 calories on 1,200 calories of energy expenditure, and we are going to gain a ton of weight back. This is the yo-yo. Who's yo-yo dieted? You don't have to raise your hand, but I don't like it. I have a lot. It's because we get aggressive here, this drops, and then it's like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Where's the pizza? Boom. And it's like, oh, I had a bunch of pizza. Let me just do this all weekend now. I'll get back on track Monday. Do that a couple weekends in a row. Now you're in surplus. You can't live on 1,200 calories a day and live a regular life. So now what? Let's talk about the challenge. Let's talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to work on some of this stuff. So, what your challenge is, okay? It's going to be 46 days. All right? It's going to start on Friday. There are going to be 3 prep days. There will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and your challenge will officially start on Monday. There will then be 1 wrap-up day. Each day you will receive lessons, you will have daily check-ins, weekly reflective surveys, weekly movement challenges. I'll show you what these look like. Your goal, eat real foods. That's the purpose. That's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on cutting the crap in those hyper-palatable foods and focusing on eating real foods. Okay? Goal is also to move more. Exercise and non-exercise, right? So getting in the gym, getting your exercise calorie burn in. Also, stuff outside of the gym. That's where the movement challenges will come in. Okay? And this is the big one. Dr. Growth Mindset. You can do this. For the level 2 people, anybody doing level 2, we will also be doing some tracking so that we can kind of see where we need to be at, track, adjust, and then talk about more advanced, longer-term strategies if anybody's doing that one as well. Okay? You might not be able to see this, guys. I'm sorry. I don't want to turn the light off on you. I'm afraid you'll fall asleep. So what will happen over the next couple of days, you will receive a welcome email, okay? That welcome email will have a couple of things, but most importantly, it will give you a link to an app called MyCoach. And this is going to be the platform we are going to run this challenge on over the next couple of weeks, okay? Download that app. You can run this through email as well if you don't want to use an app. It's fine. I recommend using the app because it's easier to use, okay? And it will send you reminders, notifications, and stuff. All right, if you have an iPhone, whatever, it should be good. On your first prep day, you will get a list of resources. So we have some things like, you'll have a link to, we're going to have a private challenge Facebook group. We'll also have like some real food kind of like recipe pages. We have some check-in progress tracking sheets. We have some clean eating guides, some recipes, things to plan your meals out. Shake guides. Tom posted a really good one in the private group today if you guys haven't seen that. A bulk cooking guide, portion control guide. Like there's a variety of things that will be resources that you will have at your disposal. You can always go back to them inside the app, or you can print them out and just have them, for you whenever you want to use them. Okay, that's what you'll receive on day 1. So this is the most important part of this challenge. Okay, there are going to be daily check-ins. So every day, and the way that it's set up right now is you will receive a notification that's like this at 9 o'clock every morning. And every day you will have a task. For the level 1 people, the people who are doing the regular clean and lean challenge, that task will be saying every day, did you only eat real foods yesterday? You are going to either answer yes or no, done or not done. Simple as that. Okay? You will be able to look at your progress on the progress tab here. So you can see, like, if you look at mine, these little question marks means I didn't check in. Right? So if I did check in and said no, it would be red. And then these ones are saying like, yeah. So we can look over the 6 weeks and say like, oh, why isn't this working? Oh, well, I actually only was like on point 40% of the time. Look at my check-in. Okay? So, the reason why this is so important is on our end, we see this. So if you look here, you'll see Tom. Green, 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 green. Like, I know Tom's doing a pretty good job because he's checking in and saying basically he's having success. He's set his environment up in a way that is allowing him to do these things that we're asking him to do, which is eat clean foods. And if he has a bunch of greens stacked up at the end of 42 days, he will have lost weight. You'll see me up here, a bunch of question marks. We'll be able to see, how come Mike isn't checking in? Why don't I shoot Mike a message to see what's going on? And then you'll see Mike White. Like, if we see that, listen, we know that we're trying. If I see this, I'm like, man, it's a shame that this person is not investing in actually doing this and giving this a solid effort. But I see Mike is trying. You bet we are going to schedule a phone call, a meeting. We are going to sit down. We'll go grocery shopping. We'll do whatever we got to do. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? Tom, did you ever go grocery shopping with anybody? Help me out?
find out if Tom's gonna cook for us.
Additional fee. Make sure you don't cut him a direct check. Yeah, it's got to come through us first.
Like,
Yes.
inquiring minds want to know, is red wine real food? No, come on.
Listen, we will talk about that. Here's the thing, and you will see. I'm going to provide you with recommendations. I'm going to give you an idea of what is real food and what is not. Okay? What you decide to do with that, and what you decide that you ultimately want success to look like for you. So if Elaine, you are going to go into this and say, you know what, I'm going to follow all those things that Mike told me to do, but I'm still going to have red wine on Fridays and Saturdays. And that's success to you, then you can check in green. But the more you do that, the more wiggle room that you are giving yourself away from what we are recommending here, the less I can guarantee that you are going to see results, even if you check in green throughout the entire thing. So ultimately, you need to make that decision. I can't do that for you, but we will provide you with those recommendations. Whatever you decide success is for you, that's how you check in. Cool? You all good with that? You will also receive daily lessons each day. So when you get notified for your check-in, a new lesson will come up. And these lessons will be more on the how. Right? This will be more kind of tips and strategies and things to ultimately control your appetite a little bit better, to set up your environment better. Right? More kind of like the why behind things. Right? Educate a little bit. Now, the good thing about these, right, you don't need to read these every day because they will always be here under the resource tabs. You can always go back and read your lessons. So if you want to just block out X amount of time on Sunday morning and go through all your lessons and implement, you can do that. Whatever works for you. You know? Each week, towards the end of the week, you will also receive a link for a check-in survey. This is also super important. In addition to the daily check-ins, what this will ultimately do is this gives us a little bit more detail on our end. But also, this is built for you to ultimately reflect on the previous week and set goals and targets for the week ahead of you. This is an important exercise for people who have success. Just reflecting on what went well and didn't go well, and what we need to do this week to have success. Oh, I'm traveling a couple days this week. Maybe I need to go to the store before I get on a plane, so I can bring stuff to the airport with me. You know what I mean? So this is important. All right. This is beside the point. We'll get more into this. We are going to have a challenge party for everybody at the end on the 9th, and there are going to be some prizes and stuff like that. You got to do this stuff if you want access, if you want to win some cash and some other cool prizes. Messaging. So there's a messaging feature inside the app. Any messaging or any questions you have, we're going to keep inside the app and message through here, just so we can keep everything in one place. So try not to text or things like that or email. Everything's going to be in here, right? Coach, if I have trouble, my 2 p.m. snacking, you're screwed, right? So that's probably what the response would be like. But this is where you're going to message us. We'll get our notifications. That way we can take dedicated time, so we're not just answering things on the fly. Okay? There are going to be Facebook and movement challenges. The Facebook challenges are going to be more to help each other, right? So there are going to be some challenges inside of that private group where we are going to basically share some things like recipes, right? So we can help each other out, okay? Because as we all know, we can't do this alone. And then the movement challenges, again, are going to be work to increase that need, okay? I want to revisit this quickly because what I'm going to talk about is the next part of the challenge. And you are going to see this next slide. And you are immediately going to go here, some of you. Because it's new, it's uncomfortable, maybe a real look in the mirror. But we need to measure our progress, which means maybe stepping on the scale, which means taking before pictures and progress pictures. And right now, yeah, I can see the faces. The faces are changing. This has always been something you have avoided. This has always been something you have avoided. Maybe this is the exact thing that you need. If you want to see results and make progress that you have never made before, you're going to ultimately have to do things that you've never done. I will never take a picture and post it on the internet without asking you first. I will never judge somebody for whatever this number says. This does not define you. You are not your weight. Whatever that thing says on that damn InBody, that is not you. We need to take the emotion out of this. Because that's not what this is for. This is to ultimately see, okay, this is my starting point. That's the growth mindset. This is where I am right now. This is my starting point for a new sense of development. This is the starting point for the last time I'm going to ever have to worry about this crap the rest of my life. You can skip it if you want, but I don't recommend it. What gets measured gets managed. And if we haven't been measuring something, we haven't been measuring anything, we've been skipping this step because it's uncomfortable, and it's an uncomfortable look in the mirror, maybe that's the bottleneck. Adopt a growth mindset with this stuff. Use this as an opportunity. I'm going to say it again. If we struggled with this stuff for years, and years, and years, and we are frustrated, we can't do this anymore, and I don't know how many more freaking challenges I can take and have no results, and always end up in the same spot, I'm back here. You're going to have to do something you've never done before. Get ready to get a little bit uncomfortable the next couple of weeks. We are here to support you through that. That is literally why we built this place. I don't want you guys feeling the way I felt for so long anymore. That's what we're going to do now. Okay? There are a couple things that we need to do before we leave. Again, if you don't want to do any of this stuff, you're more than welcome to go. Okay? Over in that room, Tom's going to be running the InBody. Okay? If you are not taking an InBody tonight, we will not be able to take you for one this week before the challenge. Okay? If you were taking the challenge and you want to do an InBody, you do have to do it tonight. It's okay if you have to eat or stuff like that.
No, if I already have one for Wednesday.
You're fine. Yeah. Just make sure that you have that, have that handy. Okay? We're not going to do a printout. What we're going to do before you take your InBody, you are going to give Tom your phone. Okay? Tom is going to take your phone. We're not going to do a printout. You are going to go stand in line. Tom will get you on. You will register as a guest. You will not put your name in. You will just give Tom your height and your age. We will then run 15 seconds. It takes about 15 seconds to do a scan. Results will pop up on the screen. Tom will take a picture with your phone, and you will then have that information on your phone. We will not have it. You will. You can then, when you've got access to the app, upload that information in the Progress tab, or in the Data tab. Okay? When you go over there, as you get closer in line, you're going to take your shoes and socks off. There's wipes. You're just going to wipe under your feet, inside your hands, and Tom will get you from there. Okay? Upstairs, Leah is going to be taking before pictures. Again, you are going to walk up to Leah, my beautiful wife for any of you who don't know Leah. You are going to give Leah your phone. We will never have these. Your phone. You're going to stand in front of the thing up there, front, side, get your phone back, and then when you have your stuff, you're going to put it right in there. Okay? Good question. Listen, if you have baggy clothes on, if you want to take it, try not to have, undress. In all seriousness, though, if you do have baggy clothes on and you want to get this done today, if you are willing to wait and you do want to undress a little bit, Leah will take you down into the primary, in the massage room. Or you can do it on your own at home. But just make sure you do it. Because chances are, if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it. Because you will have an entire ride home to justify it. So I recommend you do it now. Okay? Again, I'll never, ever use a picture without your permission. If anybody is not registered for the challenge and wants to participate, I will be set up by that little table over there. If you are a member, just come over and let me know which one you want to do. Ask any questions, whether it's the advanced or the regular clean and lean. I will just get you all set up later on. If you are not a current member and would like to sign up, I will take you through your paperwork, answer any questions you have, okay? Any questions? So this is what we're going to do, all right? Patrick, you are going to be the line here. Everybody on this side of the room, you can go on and head with Tom. Anybody on this side of the room, you can head up with Leah. Afterwards, he's going to switch, and then you can get on out of here.